Welcome. This is Africa Enlightenment Center. A lot of people have been asking questions like, how is religion responsible for the problems we have in our countries in Africa? How is religion responsible? People say, oh, it's not the problem of religion, it's not religion and all that. Now I'm going to tell you a few things why religion is responsible for what is going on in Africa, for the poverty, for the bad governance and all that. Now, do you know that in the holy books of the two major religions in Africa, which is Christianity and Islam, they are told that they are not supposed to fight against the government, that it is God that establishes, governments. But the funny thing is, these African countries operate democracy. And by the definition of democracy, we should understand what democracy is all about. Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So if it is government by the people, then where does God or any God come in? It's not like in those days that in our communities, you had the king who is chosen by the gods. And in some cases, the king is, ascends the throne because of what his family has contributed to, the founding of the community. So the founding family takes the reign and becomes the king, forever. And in some cases, there are up to 3 families. Like in my community, there are 3 families that rotate the kingship and all that. Now, the white people came, destroyed that system of rulership or leadership that we had, and then gave us democracy. And then gave us books that said government is established by God. How? The people go to vote and vote in their leaders. And then when they're voting the wrong person into office, they're told by their religious leaders they shouldn't fight for their rights. So they believe that it is God that gives victory during elections. But we can see clearly it is not God that gives any victory. It is who the people choose that becomes their leader. Either they choose it by allowing, anybody to rig the election, or they choose it by electing the leader themselves. They go to the polls and vote, and then the votes are counted. And you know what happens in Africa? Most of the votes are rigged in favor of the person, that has more money. So when the person enters into office, he doesn't do anything meaningful. They embezzle all the money, take it to the West. And the West doesn't care, because if we have good leaders in Africa, they will stop benefiting from our resources. They will stop stealing our resources through these leaders, these bad leaders. So they help you to get bad leaders. And the people, we've not been able to come out and stand against this, because religion has taught people that it is God that elects leaders. So even bad leaders, is God that allows them to rule, which is wrong. It's totally wrong. So that is one of the ways through which religion has contributed to the problems that we have in Africa. So people are encouraged to go to church and pray. As we speak, a mega pastor in Nigeria is building one of the biggest auditoriums so far in the world. You see that? Right now, people are going to churches to pray, because they've been told that the problems are caused by one devil or Satan that fell from the sky and all that is invisible, that is troubling humanity. He's the cause. Satan is the cause of sicknesses, diseases, and all the problems that we have in the world. So you got to pray to overcome him. You got to, pray. You got to hold on to God, go to church, pay your tithes. People are told to pay tithes to prosper. Whereas it is just to put in place systems where money flows. Look at Africa. All our boundaries were set by the Europeans. Until today, we're still maintaining those colonial boundaries where trade is almost impossible within African countries. You see that? We're so close, but we cannot get close to each other. It's easier to buy goods from Europe or, UAE or Canada or any other part of the world and bring it to Nigeria than to buy goods from Ghana or from Cote d'Ivoire or from Senegal and bring it to Nigeria. Even Benin Republic, that is close to Nigeria, it's difficult to do business between these two countries because so many restrictions that have been put in place. You talk about security challenges and all that. All of these things, Africans are not looking at that. We're playing away. Another thing Religious people have been told that this world is useless. This world is not their home. That they're going to somewhere, going to go to heaven. So they have to live right. They have to try to be moral and all that so they can go to heaven. This world is not their home. Whatever happens here, they should just, take it like that. So people don't fight for their right. People can be abused and they believe that, okay, they're going to go to heaven and they're going to enjoy there. So this world, you can enjoy in this life. You can have a good life here. Because a lot of people haven't tasted a good life. They haven't traveled out of the country. So they don't know what is obtainable in Europe. The people that brought, the Bible and the Quran to Africa, some of their countries right now, they're the best places you can live in the world. They've abandoned these things, but Africans hold on to these things. So Africans are ruled by bad politicians and bad pastors and imams who tell them what to do. They've given their lives. And one funny thing about religion, once you give your life to it, you are controlled by the teachings of that religion. You are controlled by the custodians of that religion. And that is what is going on in Africa. So people cannot fight for their rights. After the 2023, elections in Nigeria, people were aggrieved and they were not happy. And you know what? The religious leaders told them not to go to war. They're afraid. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Oh, God is the one that has chosen. Even the pastors that prophesied that the current president is not going to win the elections, they turned around and said, it's God that allowed it. So Christians, Muslims, everybody should just let it be. Now look at the country, Nigeria today. The dollar, is beating the naira into tatters. Right now, a dollar is about 1,400 naira, which has never happened before. From 150, around 150, before, it rose to about 400 thereabout. Before this administration came in. Right now, the dollar is about 1,400 naira and nobody is doing anything about it. The economy is totally dead. People are dying. Drugs manufacturers from the UK, they've moved out of Nigeria. And right now, ordinary drugs that were sold for 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 naira, they're now being sold for between 15,000 and 40,000 to 60,000 naira. No good hospitals, no good roads, everything is bad. But the people are in church praying and dancing and singing that God will come and intervene. How would God come from somewhere to come and intervene? There is no such God to intervene. So it is left for the people to rise and take what belongs to them. If you don't want the government is not doing the right thing. Why not find a way to change the government? Because no God puts the government in place. It is Africans that vote their leaders, that put their leaders there and allow these leaders to oppress them because everybody is afraid to die. Yet they've been promised heaven, that if you die, you go to heaven. So for instance, the Islamists, they only enforce that when they want to fight against ordinary people, want to drag land, take land from people, take people's properties, and then they call for what they call jihad, and then they promise people heaven. But they can't fight against government because they work hand in hand. The government gives, the religious associations slots to travel to Israel, to travel to Mecca for pilgrimages. Millions and millions of dollars are being spent yearly for these leaders and some of the people in the religious organizations to go for pilgrimages every year, government officials and all that. So there's so much money voted in for religion that, the leaders, they're enjoying so much, they don't even care about the people. And especially in Christianity, they still collect the little money that these people have in the name of God. They have to give to God to prosper. Yet they are not prospering. Nothing is happening. Everything is down. It is time for Africans to rise. Religion has destroyed our society. It has made people not to think. It has made people not to fight for their rights. It has made people not to, do the right things. In our society, the corruption is so high that it's difficult for you to get anything without paying bribes or doing something wrong. Yet, these are people that claim to be promoting morality. But the moral decadence in the society is so high. There's so many things to talk about. Africans, it's time to rise above religious slavery. These religions that were brought to us by the white people, they're not helping us. They were only used as tools, to control the people. And the leash is still on Africans. We have to break the leash. We have to come out of religion. Religion hasn't helped us. People on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, people will be in the mosque, people will be in the church praying, whereas we should be working. You see that? So our economy is not productive. Look at agriculture. Nothing is on ground. We're still using, old tools, cutlasses and hoes to farm in the 21st century, when other countries are already using robots to farm. They've moved from ordinary machinery to robots. But here we're still using cutlasses and hoes. Look at everywhere, even health-wise, sickness is all over the place. Lack of hygiene and all that. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Africans, arise and take responsibility. It is time to rise. This is Africa Enlightenment Center. We're going to bring you more to make Africans understand that it is time to arise and rise above religious slavery and neo-colonialism. Thank you for watching.